Hello, I'm Michaela from Oldham Library Service. Are you all ready for a love story? Because today we are going to be talking about the ancient Greek myth about Hades and Persephone. Have you heard that tale? If you haven't, let us begin. Many years ago in ancient Greece, there was a very powerful god of the underworld called Hades. And he very rarely left his underworld. He was very proud of it indeed. But one day he did leave his underworld, and when he did, he met a beautiful young lady who lived on Mount Olympus, and her name was Persephone. And he fell madly in love with her, and he wanted to take her back with him to the underworld. But there was a bit of a problem. Her father was Zeus and her mother was Demeter. Now then, Zeus wasn't opposed to Persephone going living in the underworld with Hades, but her mother was. Her mother said no, it was not happening at all. So this meant that Hades went back to the underworld feeling very sad indeed. And the mother was so unsure, and she was so concerned that Hades was going to return for Persephone, that she got a group of nymphs to always watch out for Persephone and to look after her. So one day Persephone was in the garden surrounded by the nymphs, and all of a sudden Persephone saw the most beautiful flower, and it was a narcissus flower, and unbeknown to all the nymphs and to Persephone, Hades had planted it there. And as soon as Persephone went over and picked the flower, the ground opened up and Hades emerged on his chariot, and he took Persephone and he took her down into the underworld. Well, when Demeter found out, she was absolutely devastated that her daughter had gone, and she believed that Hades had taken Persephone against her will, and she wanted her back, but Hades didn't want to let her go. In the underworld, Persephone was treated really well. Hades built her beautiful gardens, he looked after her, and she really did fall in love with him. But Demeter on Mount Olympus was still not happy. As well as being unhappy, she was also extremely sad, and this is where the problems began, because Demeter was the goddess of fertility and of the harvest. And because she was so sad and because she was so heartbroken, she started to neglect all her duties, and the sun didn't shine anymore, and the crops didn't grow, and people became very unhappy indeed, and very hungry. So therefore, the father Zeus went, right, we've got to sort this out. What we're going to do, we are going to ask Persephone what she wants to do. Does she want to come and live with us back on Mount Olympus, or does she want to stay in the underworld with Hades? Now Hades had heard about this plan, and therefore he gave Persephone another gift. He gave her a pomegranate, which might sound a little bit silly nowadays, but in those days in ancient Greece, giving somebody food like that, a captor giving somebody food, or if you love somebody giving them food like that, it would always mean that they may come back to you. So Persephone ate some of the pomegranate. When her mother and father asked her what she wanted to do, she told them exactly how she felt. She said that she loved Hades and she wanted to remain in the underworld. So Zeus went, that's absolutely fine. But Demeter said, no, it's not. If my daughter does not come back to me, the crops are not going to grow, the sun is not going to shine, and I am going to neglect my duties. I want my daughter back. So Zeus then decided to step in, and he decided to negotiate. And the negotiation was that Persephone spent half of the year maybe in Mount Olympus, half of the year in the underworld with Hades, or a third of the year in the underworld and 2/3 on Mount Olympus with them. He was trying to find a solution. And that was agreed. Even though Persephone and Hades, I don't think were 100% happy about it, it was agreed that basically she would go and spend some time with her family and some time with Hades in the underworld. Now it is believed, there's a lot of debate about this, it is believed that our seasons that we have now, spring, summer, autumn, winter, are based on this myth. Because when Persephone ate the pomegranate, it's believed that she ate 6 seeds. And that represents the 6 months that she stayed on Mount Olympus. So the 6 months she stayed on Mount Olympus would have been summer and spring, when all the crops were growing and all the food was there and the sun was shining. But the other 6 months she spent in the underworld, Demeter would be very, very sad and unable to fulfill her duties, which represent winter and autumn. So that is the story. Now, what do you think? Do you think that, well, Demeter was right? She should have kept her daughter with her all the time? Do you think Zeus was right by trying to sort it out? Do you think Hades took Persephone against her will? Because there's been many, many, many retellings of this story. So why don't you chat about it, and why don't you let us know what you think? Bye-bye.